How is happy Monday? I hope happy Mondays. Yeah, have a good band. It's very warm and humid here in Ireland today. The beginning of September. It's I believe they've hit 25 degrees in the south of Ireland, and it's still misty up here in the northern half of the country. There's a strong sea mist, but I can see it clearing, and it's going to be a very warm few days, which is good. And but the humidity is pretty nasty right now. It's very heavy. Well, interesting developments over the weekend. Ian Brown came out and on Twitter and he joined us. He's become one of us, and it's wonderful to see. And just like what would happen with Morrissey, the same middle class factions, who probably never listened to him or the Stone Roses ever. They'd be into things like badly drawn boy and Nick Drake, and they'd have, a couple of old school rap CDs like NWA or Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Stop Us, on their shelf at home, so in case, their black friends that they don't actually have will be impressed with them and not know that they're wonderful. And so yeah, I've seen Ian Brown in Ireland about 3 times. I was never a Stone Roses fan. I like Ian Brown solo stuff, and his audience are overwhelmingly working class, so they won't abandon him at all. If anything, they'll row him behind him. Like working class people take care of one another. We're not like middle class people. We look after each other, and so it'll only make him look even. He's only got more. The Mr. Cool is only more cooler, and I've heard so many great stories about him over the years that when bands tour with him, that the support bands get to use all the same hotels, food, and facilities as the main band. That's the kind of guy he is. He comes across a man with great integrity. And so it's wonderful to see him, of all people, do that. It's funny. It's Ireland and Manchester that's like leading there's so many. It's so central to Ireland, the resistance to this whole COVID fake scamdemic. And now Manchester, you have Morrissey and Ian Brown standing up against the wokeness stuff. It's great to see, and it's very much a working class thing, big time. Now, of course, a friend Roy in Australia posted a thing this morning, that badly drawn boy. Remember that guy? Another busker, a troubadour of the establishment like Glenn Hansard and Christy Moore. More about that in a minute. He says something. He didn't mention Ian Brown, but was obviously having a go at him. And he said something about, it doesn't matter if the mask is effective or not, just do what the government says. Now, doesn't that sum it up? Now you know why someone who's just a busker suddenly out of nowhere wins the Brit Awards. And somebody whose real name should be badly overdrawn by, because he'd have no money. But suddenly gets all these upper middle class woke accolades, as the new thing. But they've always done that with folk music. We're a long way from my generation. You see, imagine that we're now in an age where the so-called anti-establishment singers are telling us to do what the government says, or else they'll destroy, or else. And it's come full circle from the Who's My Generation, hasn't it? It's come full. But you see, that's what they always did. You had, like, in the 60s, the Who with, like, My Generation and stuff like that. You had, in America, the MC5, singing about the situation there, Vietnam, what a sexy war. Uncle Sam's the pimp and we're all the hoes, Suddenly you had real, like, anger over what was being done on a political level, on a social level, cultural level. Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues, an amazing song by a genius. His brother had come back from Vietnam, I believe, and told him what was really happening there. And he wrote that song Inner City Blues on the What's Going On album, which is a masterpiece of an album. And Tamil Motown didn't want to release it because it was too political and too much of a concept album. But that song, Inner City Blues, this ain't living. this ain't living. You know, that was just, this ain't living. That's what we have today. We ain't living. We're existing for, you know, the lockdown, the scamdemic. But, you know, it's gone, when that was taken off in the 60s and people were, you know, there's an energy and intensity there against it. Suddenly we get Peter, Paul and Mary, the mamas and the papas. You know, with the folk guitarist, like, we're singing against the establishment. Michael rowed a boat ashore, hallelujah. You know, California. You know, like people got, you know, California was on point of civil war, but it's like California dreaming and all this shite. And that's, and even things like Crosby, Stills and Nash, you know, and I'm a huge Hollies fan and I love Graham Nash. And but I can't stand Crosby, Stills and Nash because that's part of that whole thing. Their music makes me sick. And when Neil Young came in, they got a bit better with things like Ohio and stuff like that, but a bit more gritty. But oh God! And it's like it's happening again today. You know, it's happening again today. Like we started out with punk. See, they don't want young people on stage with rage, like and these visceral like rock music, punk, metal, you know, kind of thing. They don't want that. They don't want that because that's a true channeling of frustration and energy. So they give us trumped up buskers like Badly Drawn Boy and Glenn Hansard singing songs about how we should all, and the reason why, then you know why they're successful. But these guys should have been on the streets with a guitar in front of them and a few shillings in it. Instead of that, they get big record deals and they're pushed by the establishment in Hollywood and everything. And that's because what they are is troubadours of the establishment. Troubadours of the establishment. That's what they are. And what people like Morrissey and Ian Brown have done, they're the opposite. They're ones who they stand by the conviction of their songs and their art and their music against it. And they get slagged by, you know, Finian down in South Dublin. You know, there was, when, you know, your man, what's his name? What was his name? The guy that was, he was in The Bourne Identity. It's the actor. I can't think of his name. Whatever. He was quarantining. That's how much I care about celebrities. He was quarantining in Dublin, and I was seeing like these posts by these middle class stuff. He's total edge. He's total edge. He's quarantining in Dublin. No, total edge. Just because he was stuck here when the lockdown happened, and he was making a movie here, and you know, it's like this is what they're like these days. The more you know, the more of a toe rag you are for the government and the establishment and the corporations, the more wonderful you are in their eyes. That resistance these days is basically telling, you know, what they call the resistance. See, they love when you resist within the framework of the establishment. So, for instance, you see, if you sing a song, go, racism is wrong, racism is bad. You know, they love you for that. But if you turn around and say, if you wrote a lyric that says, the reason for racism is that corporations and governments got together and divided people up according to economic statutes that put the middle class and the working class and the upper class away from one another. They made the middle class afraid of property property going down, and black people moving in and other minorities moving in, bringing down their property values because that's what it was all about, driving a wedge between the working class and the middle class. And, you know, and when you sang lyrics like that, you wouldn't even be allowed on a stage anywhere, because that's the truth. You do not point out that the people who are the most, you know, all these types, like all these poshies in Black Lives Matters, their great-grandparents were the ones who had the slaves. Their great-grandparents, the British ones, were the ones who had were colonial attachés in in the Transvaal and in Rhodesia, you know, had coolies and stuff like that, and manservants and stuff, and all this kind of thing. And, you know, they're the ones who profited off the cotton and the slave trade, but that they passed the hatred on. They now declare that any working class person that has a mind is now the one who caused it. They're the ones who caused fascism. It's sickening. But anyway, well done, Ian Brown. You're a great man, and fair fucks to you. Now, and you've got my support, and I'm sure you're like Morrissey. you'll only get more support from it, no matter what the Guardian and the NME and all the other rubbish says, and all the other lame-o celebrities like badly overdrawn boy says about you. Now, as somebody pointed out that I'd made a video back in 2018 reading from my book Defeat the Demons, that I show that it was basically a magic ritual that I'd done at the time, but I didn't tell people it was that. But that's what it was, where I used a mask to demonstrate bureaucracy, and I used the Vedic philosophy of Mokshampatam to underpin it. And at the in the mask, there's a burning, devastated landscape. And then I throw the mask into the bog, literally into a real bog, at the end of the video, where I'm playing a little piece of music where I was kind of like a mix between Robert Smith and Dave Gilmour. And, well, that's what I was trying for, unsuccessfully. But it ends with the final scene of the video is the sun going down, the corona of the sun in the smoke of a devastated landscape. And, wow, there we go again. I was, more foreshadowing and psychic blowback from today. This is the present world we live in. But I put the link to that video below so you can watch it and be amazed. 8 years ago, and in April, almost to the day that the lockdown was put into manifestation. You probably find that was 99 moons as well. But yeah, so I was thinking about the parallel society thing, right? I booked a hotel and in a small provincial town to do some filming, and it was just a small family hotel, and it turns out that the people who were with me had an extra room for free, and they said, well, you can stay with us. And I decided, what's part of the parallel world is parallel society is to just pay for the room and give a small family hotel business my money rather than cancel it. And that was just a little way of the parallel society. Now, if there was Hilton or Travelodge, I wouldn't give them the money. But because of the small family business and they've been the most badly hit by the Rona lockdown, that's another example of parallel society. That you would had a chance to screw a corporation, I would. And get a free hotel room, but I won't do it to a small family business in a provincial town. And that's another way. Now, another thing in the parallel society is now, those people, now here's at the side, now, remember I said the greatest education ever, we must have the memory. What animal do they say has, elephants never forget. We must have the memory of elephants, okay? The people who didn't hug you, or wouldn't shake your hand, who used to hug you and shake your hand before the Rona, don't ever shake their hands or hug them ever again. Only hug the ones who hugged you and shook your hand during the Rona. And, only hug, they're the ones who didn't treat you like an untouchable and a disease-infected person. So don't hug them ever again. Don't shake their hands. They've lost that. They have lost that right for you to be affectionate with them. Your job now is to make sure the ones who did shake your hand and continued to hug you, when the government was saying don't hug and keep social distancing, that's your tribe from now on. And it's that you didn't decide not to hug them. They decided not to hug you. And the same with businesses. I mean, I've gone into lots of business without the mask and got no hassle. They will continue to get my business forever. And the ones you'll find that the ones where they're most strict on the mask are the big chains. And even the videos they've shown where people are getting hassled in places, they're usually big corporations who either own the train company, or they own the bus company, or they own the sports clothing chain. No more business for them. Like I said, the education continues. We learn from this. Now, there's another factor I wanted to talk and bring into this as well, and it's ugly people. Have you noticed that the ugliest fuckers are the ones that have the most masks and everything on them? Now, there's a precedent for this. If you look at photographs of Iran before the revolution in '79, and Persian women are wow. Most Persian women are like wow, and the men are quite good looking too. But like all it was is a land of hotties wearing Western clothes or their own traditional clothes, looking fantastic. Looking fantastic. And when you see Miss World competitions or Miss Universe competitions back then, and the Miss Iran came out, you'd be like, Jesus. It was almost impossible to believe that women could look like that. And goddesses from a great pagan tradition, I might add. And that's why the Islamics attacked them so badly. And all the Abrahamics have attacked them. Israel always wants to nuke Iran, and the Christians, the American Christian right, bomb Iran. Remember that? What was his name? Was that Cheney? They always wanted to attack Iran. So the Abrahamics have always had it in for Iran, the Persians, because they're a special people. They're a very special people there. Now, if you look at pictures of before the revolution, it's all these hotties all dancing around and being hotties and doing what young girls do. And then as soon as the Islamic Revolution happened, it went from like the headscarf to extreme burqa in a matter of 10 years. And that was a way of showing who's an infidel and who isn't. Now, who would win by this? Well, although Iran was full of hotties, right, there would have been plenty of chicks who were ugly. And they would have been aware they were ugly, and they would have been aware that they were the ugly chicks in a land full of hotties. So, what would they do? They would love the burqa. They would love the covering up, because that now gives them a level playing field around the hotties. And so, human beings are the same all over the world, regardless of culture, race, anything, nationality. They were all driven by the similar securities and insecurity. Am I attractive enough to get a mate? Do I have a good enough personality? Am I a good talker? It doesn't matter if I have a face mask. I'm like the rest of them. Am I an individual? Not really. And individuals tend to be attractive to other people. Free thinkers and mavericks and individuals tend to be very attractive to women. Am I one of them? No. What would be best for them? Keep social distancings. Wash your hands all the time. Same thing as the mask. It's a great way for losers to hide. And that's why they're loving this. There's a level playing field. You think of like Vanessa Redgrave in The Devils, where she's the nun and she's the hunch in her back and goes, "Make me pretty, make it go away," so she can have their relationships with she can have sex with Oliver Reed. That's what them types of now all have the face mask, face burqa. See, the Islamic, what did Dave Cullen call it? The secular sharia. You see, and that's, the founders of the sharia thing in Islam were aware of that. They say, in Islam, all women beautiful because they all covered up for their husbands. See, they thought about it. That's the way to get them all locked up and imprisoned. In Islam, the way they say that, they go, all men equal, black, white, yellow. There's no racism. No, they're all equal within Islam. They're not equal outside. They're all infidels. I love the way that the progressive woke types tried to make out. Well, Capacity. I was talking to Finian while I was filleting Finian before his marriage to Quiva Susanna outside the rugby club. He's sledge. We were talking about how Islam is wonderful because it's a level playing field for all different races. Yeah, in Islam. Once you're outside that, you're definitely not in the board. Look, I don't think just look at the demolition. What Pakistan is like a rabid dog unleashed itself upon Hindu temples and Christian churches and synagogues in Pakistan. As soon as the caliphate is declared, the first thing that goes that the bulldozers move in on is Hindu temples, Christian churches, and synagogues. In Islam, all men equal. Islam, all men equal. And that's the same thing they're doing. In Rona, all men equal. All men equal in Rona. Face mask, all same. And that's what, but if you don't have the face mask, you're now the new infidel. The untouchable. Carry this anger in your heart when this is over, my friends. And when this is over, it will end. And you'll see that on that video I even made. I threw the mask into the bog. You know, I'm always joking over the years, like with paedophiles, throw them into the bog. And I did it with the mask in the video 8 years ago. And into a real bog. And the day will come. The day will come. And you know, like they're pushing it. They're pushing it, sure, but it doesn't mean we're going to get everything they want. And someone like Ian Brown gives permission to other people, maybe not to march up and down in the streets, but I can guarantee you now, every single person who follows Ian Brown, which is substantial, won't ever support Badly Drawn Boy again. And all these middle class wokes who were into Badly Drawn Boy would have never been into Ian Brown because they would have seen him too common. That would have been Commons people's music, so they wouldn't have been one of my. So the ones who's going to fail, the one who see the likes of Badly Drawn Boy, when he makes that tweet, it's a terror. They're all terrified that someone cool rock star like Ian Brown will say no, and then they're suddenly all irrelevant. You know, their desire to worship the state is gone, has taken that power from them. And it's fear. Ironically, that's what drove Badly Drawn Boy. Fear, F-E-A-R, that he would become badly overdrawn boy, because he'd have no relevance in the future world coming forward, the new paradigm, the parallel society. So, there you go. Ian Brown and his fans have now, the ones who still support him, and they would be all the working class, all his real fans would, all the ones who's on his tweet page going, oh, I was a big fan of the Stone Roses, and I laughed. I laughed. What was the name of that song? If monkeys were fear. I had all the CDs, and I refuse now to support Ian Brown for what he's done. He's betrayed us. He's betrayed his fans. You know, people like me who like Coldplay and Razorlight and Nick Drake and Badly Overdrawn Boy and Public Enemy. You know, vital music. Vital music about the rights of those types. Fuck them. New Guardian readers and the Irish version of them, you know, like Finian and Kabashti. I just think he was total ledge. I just think, you know, it's down rugby club down, and I was fisting Sebastian before his marriage to Clarissa, and I just think he was a total ledge, you know, those types. I will never buy his records again. Total ledge. You know, them types. And they never did that anyway. And poor someone with integrity like Jim Core, a man who's driven by a love of his family and a love of his country and freedom, like an Irishman is supposed. An Irishman is supposed to. If you're not infatuated and in love with freedom and liberty, you're not fit to be an Irish person. Because if I was to say there was one thing that defines an Irish man or woman, it's our love of freedom, our love of liberty. We're a nation we're the Celtic wanderers. We go everywhere, we do everything. Borders mean nothing to us. We're everywhere, and we just want the freedom to be left alone and enjoy our lives. And if you can't be that, you can't really be Irish. It's as simple as that. And so, like, that's all Jim Core is, being a regular Irish fella. Christy Moore isn't. Mr. You know, don't forget to show the great Christy Moore. Christy Moore, he's a legend. He's a fucking poet, you know. Don't forget your shovel if you want to go to work. Art. How did he stay up on the surfboard after 14 points of art? The knock song, 40,000 feet. I stepped out. I stepped in again. Jocks or ghosts stood. Pure art. You know, he was that. You know, the left can have him. We'll have the real artists, not Benny Hill with a guitar. It's funny how he's like he's Mr. You know, anti-fascist now, but he had no problem with the IRA back in the day. No. When they were deciding that British civilians were responsible somehow for 800 years of colonialism. Oh, we didn't have a problem with that back then. Oh, no. And Now, it's a different time, isn't it? Well, you're going to find out, you types are going to find out in a few months' time, a few years' time, that then you're going to be living in a very different time. And people look back on this and saying, how in the name of fuck did we let them take our rights away like that over a pandemic that was no worse than a seasonal flu? A seasonal virus. And, oh yeah, you'll find that out when the parallel society is the society going forward. You're going to find yourself obsolete. That's where you'll be. You'll be obsolete. That's where, and this is and it's growing every day. More and more people are going. That landlord who struck off his tenants' rents during the Rona, he's a good guy. I'll do anything to support those landlords. I'll rent an extra place when I get the money in it, and I know to pay the rent. Just like the little things. The little things that remember, have a memory. Have a memory. You know the names and the faces of the people who dehumanized you for not wearing the face burqa and the face nappy or the man tam. I call it now the man tampax. The face mask I now call it the man